Shalom uvracha to everyone on this, the 25th day of the Omer. I have my weekly Omer beard. My minhag is to shave for Shabbat. And it is Thursday, April 23rd, Erev, Parashat Aharei Mot Kedoshim. We have another double Parsha to try to catch up so that we get to Simchat Torah and finish the Torah on time. I hope everyone is well. I'm happy that, as far as I know, many people who have been waiting for their vaccinations are now able to get it. There's a lot of availability in the New Jersey area, and so even younger people are getting it. And I want to, again, wish a tremendous yasher koach to all the volunteers who've been helping people both from in our community and other communities to be able to get vaccination shots. And again, anyone who is still hesitating, please make sure, for the good of yourself and the good of the community, if you're medically able to, if you don't have some medical condition that prevents you from, to make sure that you get vaccinated as soon as possible, which will help everybody and yourself and everybody in our community. Yasher koach to all the Balei Tefillah and Balei Kriya and the people running groups that have been able to sustain our tefillot the last year, and are now, we're ramping up. We're getting more and more back to normal in terms of the tefillot. In the tefillot themselves, we have space for people and to come back, and those who have been inoculated. I want to encourage everyone either to join the morning service, the outdoor service on Shabbat morning, or the indoor service on Shabbat morning. We have groups. I also want to encourage people, especially to come to Mincha and Kabbalat Shabbat and Mincha on Shabbat, where we have smaller numbers. These are very short tefillot, and everybody's masked, everybody's distanced. People can stand right outside the shul and participate. And really, let's really. I want to give everybody a gentle push. People have been waiting, who are already vaccinated, and thank God the shul is very safe. The shul has not had any transmission at all in the year, in the 10 months since we've reopened, so to speak. Really, if anybody needs a little push, so here's the push. Rabbi Helfgott is encouraging everyone in terms of tefillah, and if we need to make a second minyan in the morning, a third minyan in addition to the outside minyan, if those who want to go to the outside minyan at the Raps' home, those who want to come to shul, we can make another minyan as well. So really want to encourage, and let's take advantage and begin, for those who haven't, to really push themselves a little bit on this area. We are this week Parshat Aharei Mot Kedoshim. There's so many mitzvot. These parshiot are chock full of mitzvot. Parshat Kedoshim, Chazal say, is ne'emra behakel. Moshe gathers everyone, and the rabbis use that term of hakel because that's the term of gathering to come together to hear a kind of Torah convocation. And Parshat Kedoshim, I'd like to focus on just for a second one mitzvah. Parshat Kedoshim, that's the parsha which is chock full of mitzvot, integrated mitzvot ben adam lechaviro, mitzvot ben adam lemakom, with the goal of holiness, meaning one should not see the mitzvot as a kind of obstacle course. Some people view Judaism and religion as a kind of obstacle course. Oh my God, I made it to the end of the week. I made it to the end of my life and I checked off the boxes. I did this, I did that. And, some people view religious life in that way as opposed to opportunities, points in a great sprint, not an obstacle course, but a wonderful, leisurely experience to reach Kedusha, to reach holiness, to go beyond ourselves and connect with the divine, connect with the ineffable, connect with that part of us which is so spiritual and so deep and authentic. I want to speak about just one pasuk this week, which I've been thinking about a lot, again, in the context of the pandemic. The Torah says towards the end of Perek Yutet of Sefer Vayikra, the Torah says, Mipnei Sevat Takum V'hadarta Pnei Zakein. The Torah says one should stand before the hoary hair, which is a reference to someone who is older, an elderly person, and you shall show hadar, you shall show, interesting, not just kavod, but hadar, a sense of majesty and a sense of dignity in the way that you treat an older person. Pnei Zakein. And it's interesting where the pasuk is located. The pasuk is located right before that pasuk. The Torah talks about right before the pasuk. The Torah talks about et shabtotai tishmoru mikdashi tirau ani Hashem, and then the pasuk right after that, al tifnu el ha'ovot vel hayidonim. So you should guard the Sabbath. You should honor the mikdash and fear the mikdash. And you should not turn to the soothsayers for your direction, to turn to the dead for your direction. But it says, Mipnei sevat takum vadarta pnei zakein. It's an interesting juxtaposition. It seems, as some of the commentaries note, that the juxtaposition, the penultimate verse right before how we treat the elderly, and the dignity, and the splendor, the kavod, the dignity, not just outward show, stand up, but also the dignity that we have to show to those who are elderly in our community. And it doesn't just mean the wise elderly, but anybody who's gone through life and life experiences with all of its challenges and all of its joys and beauty and all of its heartbreak and all of its experiences. That person, you have to respect. It's very similar to Shabbat. If you look in the Aseret HaDibrot, right? We have Shabbat, and then we have Kibud Avein. We have the mitzvah of Shabbat, of remembering the Sabbath, guarding the Sabbath, showing love to the Sabbath, showing distinction to the Sabbath, treating the Sabbath as special, showing kavod, honor, and fear. And then you have Kabed Tavicha V'Timecha. And then you have, later on in the Torah, about showing reverence for your parents, for elderly. So you have both. You have the Shabbat, and then you have parents. And so to here, you have a juxtaposition. But it's also in between, you have the juxtaposition of don't turn to the dead. People look for, especially in the ancient world, looked for advice. They looked towards reviving the dead. And the Torah, in a certain sense, is saying, don't look to the dead. Don't look for supernatural means. Here you have right next to you people who've lived a long time. They will all one day, unfortunately, will pass away. But they have what to give you. They have experience. They have wisdom. And respect that and cherish it. Think a lot about this during this year. There are many, many lessons eventually with time and that we can derive, that the world, that our country, that our community will have to be able to derive from the onset of the pandemic, the way that we experienced the pandemic and the consequences of getting out of the pandemic. But one thing is very clear that everyone agrees upon, that certainly in the first stages of the pandemic, we failed miserably as a world, as a country, as a society, and also in Israel, to our great chagrin, and to many places in Europe, in the way that we treated our elderly, and the way that the virus was dealt with, the way people in nursing homes were not protected, the workers in nursing homes who were exposing the most vulnerable in our society, who had the weakest immune systems, to the virus and weren't able to get the PPE and weren't able to get the help. And the way people in the nursing homes and in the hospitals were isolated and not given any way to contact their members, their family members, in an excessive, unthoughtful ways about the consequences that isolating and shutting people up without having access to be able to have any human contact in a safe way. The way that people were sent back into nursing homes and weren't allowed and weren't protected properly. This is something that, has been well documented throughout the pandemic. And it is one of the first lessons that we have to learn about how we treat those most vulnerable, those who have given so much to us, to raise us, to take care of us, to build the society upon which we then live our life, those who came before us. And again, I'm not a specific policy person, but that's something I think that we can all agree on. We can all agree on that certainly the way that we treated and dealt with the elderly in this extreme crisis situation. Without getting into specific details, we know that we, as a society, did not do the best that we could. We didn't show that hadar, that splendor and that dignity to our elderly the way that we were supposed to. And we have a lot of work to do as a society, as a country, and in Israel, and in Europe, and all over the world, in the way that we treat, even under non-pandemic situations, and what we can do and what we can take to heart and how we can take care. This is something that I think long term we have to keep in mind. I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. I want to encourage everyone again, those who can, to give them a little nudge, a little sweet, gentle Rabbi Helfgott nudge. I would love to see you in shul and in programming. There's programming of learning every Shabbat afternoon, rotating at different people's homes in yards, actually outside. It's beautiful until Shavuot. And again, really all the best to everyone, and Shabbat Shalom, and see you soon.